Hello and welcome to another College Basketball Weekly powered by the Full Court Network. Luke Taylor here, back again. It is, let's just start moving here. There we go. It is a great weekend of college basketball. Sammy, what's going on, Poppy?
How about last week, though? Man, were there some good games. How about that, man?
Saturday, February 1st, 2025 of our Lord has to be the greatest day in college basketball that I can remember. Would you agree or disagree?
There's a lot of activity, man. It was electric out there. It's like every time you're watching a game or checking scores, just something exciting was happening from like the first game of the day to the last game. I mean, you feel free to rattle off the games. I mean, it was ridiculous.
You ready for me? Texas Tech 82-81 over Houston in overtime. USC upsets Michigan State 70-64. Baylor beats Kansas 81-70. St. John's Thrilla in Manila against Providence 68-66. Georgia Tech upsets Louisville. But there's some key games. Louisiana Tech in overtime against Sam Houston State. Coach Mudge, Coach Hester, that was a really good game.
That could have been the best game of the day. Like, in all honesty.
St. Mary's Gonzaga 62-58, and the big block at the end to save the game. New Mexico versus Utah State. I mean, Missouri over Mississippi State. Arkansas, the return of the MAC, a.k.a. John Calipari, takes down Kentucky. UConn over Marquette. I mean, you can just go on and on. Duke, UNC, Arizona State. It probably has to be. Oh, and I forgot the last one. Kansas State, our guy, Jerome Tang, with the best celebration ever. We're putting it right now. 86-1 against Iowa State. And I congratulate him. He's like, glory to God.
Yeah,
I love
K-State and Tang needed that win, man, and it was such a team effort for Kansas State, and that team hasn't stopped playing hard, even though they've hit a couple like road bumps and stuff throughout the season. I mean, they play hard every game. So, but yeah, February 1st, man, that was just wild that Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, and there was even more games, you know.
You could have honestly just rattled off like another 20 games that were down to the wire, or within one or two possessions, and just really good basketball. And
I agree.
It really sets you up for like what's going to happen in conference play and like the big dance, because anybody can beat anybody. As the seasons keep going.
Yep. So there's two teams I want to talk about, and we're going to do a little segment called We Are the Pitinos.
Oh, okay.
We're going to start with Papa Bear, 72 years old, Rick Pitino, the only coach ever to win a national championship with two different programs, let alone in the same state, Kentucky and Louisville.
Crazy.
Taking three different schools to the Final Four, including Providence. I mean, what they're doing right now is ridiculous. I mean, it's simply known as the perfect storm. 19-3 in conference. I mean, they're 19-3 overall, 10-1 in conference. I know they're playing Marquette as we're taping this right now. I mean,
they're 14-0 at home. Like they haven't lost a game at home. Like, I mean, what he's doing, and we'll talk a little bit about this in a few minutes, but it just seems like second year coaches in the Big East. Like they get it.
Don't tease me.
We're
going to talk about it a little bit.
I know, but it's a second year at St. John's. Like, he's figured it out. Like, it's everybody kind of counted him out with NIL and transfer portal and just the Rick Pitino is just too old to kind of play this game now, right? This new era. Absolutely not. Like, he is really surprising me this season. I did not have them at the top of the Big East at this part of the year.
No.
And the way they're playing, they could be a Final Four team if they get a good draw.
Yep.
Like, because they are showing that they can bring it down to the wire against anybody.
Yep. Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, Mike Rapoli, who's their one big booster, billionaire, has pledged up to $1 million to match. I mean, they're not messing around. And Rick Pitino's through and through New York City, dude. I mean, I just love him. R.J. Lewis Jr. is a stud. Kadari Richmond, Zuby Ejiofor is a stud. I mean, Devin Smith, they're really fun. They pass the ball, and you know what? They struggle with the 3-point line, and he's like, just keep shooting, because that's how you build confidence. So I am a really big fan of Rick Pitino. I think he's one of the best coaches ever. And then, off the chopping block, you got to look at Richard Pitino, 18-4, 10-1, 1-1 in the top 25. You know who they lost to in the top 25?
Who's that?
St. John's. Yeah, St. John's. St. John's. And I will tell you, fourth year, 42 years old, Richard Pitino is building something. I'm a huge fan of Donovan Dent. I'm so pissed off that he was not on the Bob Cousy watch list, the top 10. I mean, this guy is 19.4, 6.6 points a game. He passes the ball. You got Nelly Joseph, Jelly Joseph, Mr. Double-Double. I mean, I am a huge fan of the Lobos. I'm a huge fan of the Mountain West because of you, but I love the Lobos. And
New Mexico is showing up. And we talked a lot about Utah State, in a number of our shows, and we're big Utah State fans as well. But New Mexico took it to them. Put it that way, it showed you how good New Mexico is, and I'm really happy for Richard Pitino. I mean, the unfortunate couple of years he had at Minnesota, everyone kind of counted him out, and now he's kind of creating his own blueprint, and creating his own name out there. And I would not be surprised if you see his name out there as a top.
Yeah, well, it is. He is below $1 million buyout. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, as we talk, and we're kind of teasing the another section like we did in the previous one, is the grass is not always greener. And as you know, you get very humbled when you get let go. And I can see him come back. I mean, Donovan Dent came back. Nelly Jelly Joseph came back.
Yeah.
Nelly Jelly Joseph.
I mean, you can tell it's like, when you come from the Pitino background, I mean, there's no, what I love about that family in the coaching world is there's no egos. It doesn't seem like, it's like, even Rick Pitino coached at Iona, to get back into the mix with everything. And so it doesn't seem like there's any egos there. And I agree with you, Richard, with Richard Pitino. His name's going to be thrown out there. He's going to get some offers. Does he stay or does he go? I think it's going to be one of the big questions in the offseason.
Yeah, I agree. So this is a topic you wanted to talk about. No love for the Big East.
I just looked at the top 25 on Monday when it came out, and I was like, okay, I looked at AP poll first, and I was like, okay, every power conference is represented in that top 10 except the Big East, and I don't know how I feel about it. And I do feel it's a down year for the Big East, but I feel like the competition is better from top to bottom. Right. So that's where I'm just kind of having a hard time with it. And, does a Marquette, does a UConn, and specifically does a St. John's belong in the top 10, And, coaches poll, St. John's was ranked 10th, and then you have Marquette at 11th, UConn at 18. But I think all three of those teams belong somewhere around that kind of 7 to 13. I think I think two of those teams belong in the top 10, and I do think the way St. John's is playing, they're going to make a deep run in the tournament. Yeah,
and I think it's gonna really dictate this week. They play, Marquette last night, which we're taping the night before, and then they play St. John's, I believe, on Friday night. And you look at it. I mean, Butler's down. Providence has got the talent. They just had just a lot of injuries. DePaul's playing a little bit, is playing much better, much improved. Xavier, that's a top 25 team right there. And they just got to put it together. And then Georgetown has been crazy. Some injuries
and stuff like that. But yeah, Georgetown, Ed Cooley, second year, they were in the basement with DePaul last year, by a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And Ed Cooley is second year, and he's 14-8 this season and 5-6 in the Big East. So he's right in the middle of the pack. I think they're ranked 5th in the Big East right now, which is crazy. So
I know it's crazy, and it could be an NCAA tournament team. I think Big East could get 4 or 5 bids potentially.
Well, that's why I was looking at where those rankings are, and it's you've got St. John's at the top alone, and then you've got Marquette and Creighton tied for second, and UConn, coming in at 4th, and you've got that kind of Georgetown, Xavier, Villanova, Providence, all at 5 and 6. So one of those teams is going to come out. Last year, the Big East only got 3 teams in, though.
I know,
and it was a better Big East. I feel like talent wise, and so I don't know where they're going to end up this year. I'm scared they're going to be capped at 2 to 3 teams.
Yeah, and they really should. They've got some really good programs. And even though maybe Butler's got a down year, or Xavier or Providence, They really, and even DePaul. I mean,
Yeah.
what they did against, they were beating UConn at half. So I picked a section, 3 teams that will make a big jump in year 2.
Yep.
I'm going to go with number 1, our alma mater, the DePaul Blue Demons. They're 11-12, 2-10. They lost to UConn. I mean, they lost to Marquette by 2. They lost to Providence. They beat, obviously, Seton Hall and a very good Georgetown team. But I will tell you, if you had to name me a coach that's going to get them there and a coach that's well respected, it's Chris Holtmann. I mean, I've had 3 coaches now tell me to my face in person that Chris Holtmann will turn it around. And it might take some time, and I think he's planting the seeds. I really love CJ Gunn. He's averaging 12 a game. Jacob Myers averaging 12. Connor Enright is just, I mean, this guy could be beat, battered, and shackled. He's still going to play. He's diving all over the place. 7.5, 6.2. The key thing is, okay, Connor Enright has another year. CJ Gunn has another year. Jacob Meyer has 2. Layden Blocker has 2. NJ Benson has 1. I mean, you know how much we love DePaul. We both graduated from there. My master's, your undergraduate. I coach, you played. I think he's the guy. And they signed Isaiah Medina, 7'1" ball player. I mean, they're getting some players.
Yeah, DePaul's going to come down to the fan base. I'm just going to say it. They have the coach. They have the opportunity to keep good players and get new players. It's all going to come down to do the fans show up, and can they create an NIL collective that can, get that 1 or 2 players that brings them into the next phase of the Big East. I'm blown away by what Coach Holtmann has done. Like, it's like I 2 wins in the Big East, like from where they were and how the team and the roster was kind of looking in August, September, like where they've come in 5 or 6 months. It's just exceeded every expectation I've had as a DePaul alumni. So
yeah.
It's I agree with you on that one. Next year could be a really big year for DePaul.
Yeah, and I just want to give a shout out to Dwayne Peavy, a former guest. You've done something right, my man. You've done something right. Next team, I got to bring it in the intro because he loves my intro and he wished his wife would do it. Cowboys, baby. Sundance Wicks, the most electric name in college basketball, the Wyoming Cowboys. They sell sushi at the game. And I will tell you, I'm an Obi Agim basketball fan. 17.8 points per game. Jordan Nesbitt, I watched them play to the wire against San Diego State this weekend. I am telling you, Sundance Wicks, the pride of Wyoming, came back after Wisconsin Green Bay, passed the reins to Doug Gottlieb. I love what they're doing there. I love the guy.
Sundance is the right guy for the job. There's no doubt about it. Like, it's people in Wyoming love him, rightfully so. The players love playing for him. That is so like, you can tell by watching games, like, which players just have the utmost respect for their coaches by how hard they're playing, like how they're listening, how they're coming back to the sidelines to talk to the coaches. And like, Sundance is the right guy to get this Wyoming team back on track. Yeah. And it is, they've lost some games that have been close this year. They've lost some other games by a lot, but it's like this team does not give up, and like, they're diving for balls, they're playing hard, and they're playing for their school and their coach. And I think Sundance has a mission there, and it's going to be exciting to watch that team grow the next couple of years. Who's that third team on your watch list for next year?
Team, and we can't get him back on the show. I'm really upset about this. It's my guy, Steve Lutz. Oklahoma State, Cowboys, two Cowboys.
Two Cowboys.
DePaul the Cowboys, the Blue Cowboys. DePaul Blue Cowboys.
Yeah, right. There's not a lot of Cowboys up in Chicago, but yeah, Steve Lutz at Oklahoma State, 11-10 this year.
We're going to change that. We're going to bring the Cowboys to Chicago.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, my man. Go ahead, please.
No, I had them on my kind of second-year watch list too. I mean, Steve Lutz is a winner. He's won everywhere he's been at, and and I don't think that's going to change with him being at Oklahoma State, one of the best conferences in the country on any given year. And they're competing, they're playing hard. And I think that's going to be I might say that's going to be a third year kind of huge bump, maybe not the second year. just because it might take a little bit longer in this conference. But yeah, Steve Lutz, they're going to get better every year that he's their coach, just because he's a born winner.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, they're bringing in, they signed Ryan Crotty, who's a top 100 shooting guard from Virginia, 6'5". They got a couple of their players. I think, he embraces and understands NIL. Winner at Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, winner in the 1 year at Western Kentucky. So I'm really excited for those three programs. And I do agree, Lutz might need another year, but that's going to be fun. And we need to get to Stillwater because they got Eskimo Joe's, baby.
Let's do it.
So the dominoes continue to fall. 2 days ago, Florida State announced that Leonard Hamilton, after 23 seasons, is retiring after the season. We kind of called that. Not surprised. I mean, I've had some conversations, some pretty real and raw conversations in the flesh with some coaches. And I think the grass is not always greener. And I think situations, if you have a good situation, I mean, I talked to someone on Instagram about, Will Wade's going to be gone. I'm like, Will Wade loves McNeese. They love him. I mean, he's buddies with the AD. He got a huge pay bump for him. I mean, I think they almost, 5 or 6 times what he was making. And I mean, we thought he was going to be gone last year. I don't know if he's going to be gone this year, but it's funny. We're talking about people on the hot seat like Indiana, North Carolina, and they have winning records.
Yeah, I mean, the conference you got to look out for is the Big Ten. Like, I feel like there's going to be a huge shakeup in the Big Ten this offseason. Like, I think Minnesota, Ben Johnson, I'm not sure he's going to be around. Rutgers, Steve Picciol, like the expectations they had this year at Rutgers are not being met. Iowa with Fran McCaffrey not having a good season, and then Indiana, Mike Woodson. I mean, that's 25% of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Could be gone.
And I think Mick Cronin's going to leave. I think he's going to come back to the Midwest, and I can honestly see him at Cincinnati. I really can. I can see
him at Cincinnati. I can also see him taking that Indiana job if it opens up.
I do too. He's a great coach. I think he just has more of that Midwest mentality. He's still doing pretty good at UCLA. It's just really hard for me, and I think it's really hard for him with the kind of current situation of the travel. He's seen the Statue of Liberty 3 times. I think it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be more to come. And we're seeing more dominoes fall during the season than ever. And it's going to be interesting to see if there's some surprises. I think there's going to be. I think, you're saying there's going to be more than last year. I don't disagree. I kind of have a hard time, but I think we've already got 6 or 7 openings right now, potentially, or are, because I'm kind of, we don't know about South Florida. I love Ben Fletcher. Hopefully they give him another year or two, but we'll see.
Stuff's going to happen. We got some good games this weekend. Friday, you got St. John's at UConn. That's going to be a great game. I hope everybody can tune in and watch Montana at Northern Colorado. It's the battle of the Big Sky. The 1 and 2 teams in the Big Sky playing really hard. And then Saturday, you got Texas A&M at Missouri and Florida at Auburn. Those are the games I'm watching, LT. It's going to be a good week.
And I'm watching those too, my friend. But, let's don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Follow us on all our Instagram and Twitter handles. And check out our Substack page. We got a couple new subscribers these last couple of days. And also check out Full Court Press, College Basketball Coach. So we got Danielle Robinson from Cleveland State. A lot of fun for him. So we'll see you next week on the College Basketball Weekly from LT and Sammy B.